So today we're going to talk about your billing and financial aid essentials. My name is Rohit Maganya. I think I've spoken to some of you already, or definitely emailed you, at least a few of you. Um, so this presentation shouldn't take too long. More than anything, we just want to introduce you to your CalCentral, um, student portal, and um, that way you kind of get a better feel for it as you're gonna deal with it a lot over your 3 years here, or of your LLM 1 year. Um, so yeah, so if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Hopefully, I can answer them here. If not, I'll write them down and I'll find a way to get back to you. So here's the agenda. We're gonna go through the billing and the payment services. The big one here is the fees and the due dates. Also, just kind of viewing your bill summary, your payment options. We'll go a little bit through financial aid, um, where to find your financial aid and when you're going to get your financial aid, and also Cal Student Central, and kind of the difference between our office and Cal Student Central. So fees and due dates. So if you haven't already, you will get a bill soon. It should be going out this week. Um, this is actually for JD, so LLM. The cost of attendance is a little bit different, but California. So when we talk about the cost of attendance, first off, it's everything that we think is going to cost for you to be at school for the academic year. And that includes tuition and fees, but also living expenses, personal expenses. Um, so the cost of attendance itself, you're not going to see it on CalCentral. What you're going to see on CalCentral, what the balance on CalCentral will be the mandatory charges and the fees. Um, and again, this is for JD, but for fall, your fall fees it's gonna be, for most people so it's gonna be 31,598. I say for most people because some people might waive ship or um, they might have slightly different fees depending on also, like if you live on campus, that's gonna be something that's gonna be um, put in your balance on CalCentral. Um, and for non-resident, your fall fees are estimated at 37,812. The tuition due dates for fall, it's August 23rd. Um, for for
Because you're not
spring
able to
semesters,
have an opportunity to
January
do things that
17th.
funding is what you make.
Um,
And you're not paying rent,
those dates
you keep
combined.
doing and stay
So this is
dedicated in
what
your
your
career, not even career, in your future
CalCentral
and
looks
in your
like.
education. So,
Um,
just kind
Once
of,
you log in, you're probably gonna be in the main dashboard, but then you want to go to My Finances. On the left-hand side, you can see the billing summary. As you can see here, this is from last year, so but it's going to look very similar. The dates are just going to change, and obviously the amounts. But in this case, you might have something like this now, where you have nothing due now, but as you can see, total unpaid balance, it means it's going to be due in the future. Um, so if you go to view, so probably the two most important parts of this billing summary on the left hand side is your view transactions and your view PDF statement. One of the things that we talk, and the make a payment, which again is not available for this in this particular screen, but for you it might be available already. And if it's not available soon, and one of the things about the fee PDF statement, it's think about it like if you like when you have like if you have a credit card statement, it's for the date for that date, right? It's as of that date, so it's not dynamic. It's not going to change. So if you have a balance, but you make a payment after, or you have additional fees added on, that PDF is not dynamic. It's not going to change. So that's why that view transactions that we're going to look at right now is probably the most important part, and probably where I would say most of you should be looking when you're looking at what you actually owe. So we'll click on that. As you can see on the transaction, we have show all, unpaid balance, payments, and aid. As you can see here, we want to be go to the unpaid balance, and specifically, we want to go to the right-hand side, which says due, right, with the due date. Again, for you, it's a little bit different, but this was last year, and it was due on the 18th. One thing to keep in mind is, as you can see, transaction amount, it could be different than due amount, right? In this case, nothing has been paid when you look at this system-wide fee. But if you look down here at the non-resident supplemental tuition, MBA, it's an MBA student, that amount was 6,122 with 50 cents. You see here it says partially paid, and now the actual amount, what's actually due, is 5,845 and 25 cents. So when you're looking at this, that's where you want to look. You want to look on the right-hand side, and you want to see what's actually due, because some of this might have been already paid. Again, the unbalanced show all. Probably the most important thing here, it's actually not show all, but it's that showing what term, because if you do all terms, you're going to get everything that you for all the terms that you've been here. And I could tell you that's happened in the past where students get really confused because they see things that um, they forget that they're doing all terms, and you could see how it could be confusing if you see multiple tuition charges or multiple health insurance charges. But just make sure that you're looking at the specific term, or you know that you're looking at all terms. So keep that in mind. That's very important. It's something that it's very easy to kind of forget about because you could just go to show all, and all terms is probably already there as a default. So just make sure that you're looking at the correct term. So aside from your financial aid, there are different payment options. And we'll go over these. Again, it'll be on your CalCentral, on the right-hand side right there, which says billing and payments. You can pay your bill by credit card. As you can see, there are some fees associated with that. So I would say ideally you would want to avoid that. I mean, you should always try to avoid any unwanted or unnecessary fees. But if you have to, then go ahead and do that. But ideally, I would say probably e-check because it's free. Um, and if you don't know how to do that, I know, I know you guys, a lot of you guys are very young, so you don't even know how to do how to pay with the e-check. Just contact us and we can help you with that. Probably your parents know, but trust me, I the last couple of years, I've been amazed that people, you guys are so young, you guys are just used to like, everything doing digital, and not even, you don't even know what a check or e-check is. The other thing, it's international funds transfer. Um, the quota rates there are valid for 72 hours. So this is, um, 3 ways of making payments. Some of you, especially LLM, you might have a third-party contract, what we call TPC, and you may be eligible for this. Maybe you already know that you're eligible for this. You already have this. This is, if you don't know about it, basically there's somebody who sponsors you, whether it's a government or um, a company, and they pay all or part of your tuition and fees. They will require an itemized invoice that you can get from us. And then they send the money directly to UC Berkeley. So as a student, you don't see the money, like it doesn't go to your bank account at all, and you don't have to make any payments. The TPC, the third-party contract, the sponsoring agency directly makes payment to Berkeley. And again, just look at payment options. How to enroll in TPC. The agency is gonna provide an authorization letter to you or to the school. It's gonna indicate the items that will be paid in support of the student and what terms, what academic year, and how much the support will be. Um, so based on the level of support outlined in the letter, the TPC office processes a conditional credit to pay registration fees. So sometimes what happens here is if the TPC covers tuition fees completely, and you will have no more balance. It will just say zero. If it pays partially, then the TPC will be applied, and then you'll have a balance for the remaining amount that you would have to pay. Um, if the TPC, if the what they provide to us is actually more than what you're paying, we would actually give them the money back. Um, we do have like a specialized office for TPC support because it is super complicated. So as you can see, the email is pretty simple: tpcsupport@berkeley.edu. But again, a lot of the LLM students do have this program. So um, if you have further questions, please let us know, or the TPC support. But once we once we get our documentation and everything, in the authorization letter, it does go by easy, a lot easier than the other payments, or than like it makes everything a lot better. But we do have to, it does take some time to get this processing. So please, if you have a TPC, let us know right away. So now we're going to talk about the fee payment plan. Essentially, the fee payment plan, what it allows you to do is pay in installments. So anybody who doesn't have a fee payment plan, you're expected to pay the entire amount on the date. I think August 23rd. But if you don't have any financial aid, or if you have financial aid but you still have a balance, and you don't want to make that full entire payment in August, you could sign up for a fee payment plan. Um, it is $60 every semester to enroll in. You have until that second installment. So in the fall semester, that's September 22nd, and spring, that's February 16th, to enroll in the TPC and FPP. So I would say if you're having difficulties paying the entire amount, feel free to sign up for this. If you can pay the entire amount, or you can pay, or if you don't want to go through this payment plan and you don't want to pay the $60, then you could do something where you pay most or all of it August 23rd, and then pay before the end of the month. It's probably not ideal to do that, but you could do that. And we'll talk about late fees, which are very important, but there are actually no late fees at the moment, which is why I bring this up. But um, I would say for most people, you either have financial aid and you're gonna pay it in full, um, or you're gonna have the fee payment plan and you're gonna pay in installments. And you could sign up for it here on the right-hand side of your CalCentral tuition and fee payment plan. And LLM students do qualify for that. So again, as I was saying, for most students, the best thing to do is a combination of your aid, loans, and gift aid, and pay that right away. If you don't pay right away on the date that it's due, normally there is late fees associated with that, which is $25 per month. But as you can see, as I stated on here, currently late fees are not being assessed. So that's why um, if you don't want to do the fee payment plan, but you're able to pay, I would say within like a week or so, within the first payment, that's probably a good thing to do. But if you can't do that, then definitely sign up for the fee payment plan, because As you can see, there is no late fees, but there is a late registration fee of $150. So student billing expects all students to pay at least 20% of their fees by the third week of instruction. And if you don't pay at least the 20%, won't get the late fee charge of $25, but you will get a late registration fee of $150. Not ideal at all. This, hopefully you could talk to us before this even happens so we can figure out a way for you not to be charged this, whether it's through signing up through the fee payment plan or talking to us and figuring something out, because again, every dollar matters, especially when if this happens multiple times. The other thing that happens after the third week, if you haven't paid at least 20%, and maybe even more important for you as a student, you're gonna get blocked on future class enrollment, so you will not be able to enroll for the following semester. Um, if you had any financial aid that could be refunded or dispersed, both of those would be blocked. So these are really, and also, I don't think they mentioned this, but you could get blocked from services like the library. Um, and that's not something you want. So past due balance, try to avoid it. Please talk to us, because we don't want to get into the situation. It's happened many times where a student, for whatever reason, doesn't pay their balance, and then they try to use the library, and access is denied, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to deal with that. So try to avoid all that. And again, fee payment plan, your loans, anything like that, any way that you can pay at least 20% by the third week, because you don't want to get blocked from these things. And then you also don't want to get, you don't want to get blocked from classes or from future enrollment, because if there's classes that you need to take or you want to take, and if you are not able to enroll on time, then you might not be, those classes could be full, and you might not be able to enroll in those classes anymore. So please talk to us.
I had a quick question. Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay. I wanted to ask, when is the earliest day of payment for the fall semester? Is the bill already up on CalCentral?
it
Can we
depends.
pay already or? Mhm.
I would say once you have your back, once it says due now, then you should be able to make that payment.
Okay, so when it says due now is when we can start making the payment. Do you have a sense of when that would be, given that it's like due in a month, so maybe like 2 weeks from now, I think, or
Yeah, we're talking here within probably the next week or so.
next week or so? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
thank you.
normally that PDF statement will be out this week, like around the 25th or so. Um, and then once you get that PDF, it'll change from not yet due to due now.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah,
So yeah, we're
great.
talking here a couple of weeks. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So now we move from the left side to the middle, which is view awards. If you have any aid, any financial aid, including loans and grants, you want to click on view awards. You want to make sure you're on the right year. So I think now we have like a drop down menu where it has the different years. But that's one thing to be careful of. If you click on there, you'll see your aid and your different awards. So on the right hand side, I should this is a bad page. I apologize. Um, on the right hand side, kind of over here is a scholarship. This will be where you have your grants or scholarships, and then it'll show the amount. I apologize, this is blocking it. And then what's dispersed. So in this case, this could be like 10,000, but it hasn't dispersed yet. Once it's dispersed, it'll show the amount dispersed. Yeah, it is 10,000. So if this thing was not here, you would see that this scholarship is for $10,000, but it hasn't dispersed. Once it's dispersed, it'll show here as dispersed. Then down here are the loans. And again, unfortunately, I can't see the amount, but they have not been dispersed. Now, you don't have to do anything for your scholarships to disperse, because as an office, we accept your grants and scholarships for you, because we assume that you're going to accept them because there's no issue, right? It's free money. So we would expect most people would accept those. But for your loans, we don't accept those. You will accept those, and you'll accept them here on this page. And um, they'll have a, once you, if you click on this, oops, sorry, uh, when on your CalCentral, this will be active, and you click on it, and it'll say accept loans, and then you can accept up to, what we offer is the max. So the max for unsubsidized loan for 1 year is 20,500. So you can accept up to that amount. You can accept less than that, but you can't accept more. But it'll give you like an open dialog box, and it'll ask you like, what amount do you want to accept? And then you just put the number 20,500 or 12,000, whatever it is. But just know that if you accept less than the max, you still have the max available to you. So like I said, for unsubsidized loan, the max for 1 year is 20,500, but let's say you only accept 10,000, you still have the other 10,500 that you can take out for the year. You just have to let us know, and we can post it. We could repost that amount. The system's not smart enough to repost that amount automatically, so you just have to come to us. You can email us. You can stop by the office, say, hey, hold on, I only accepted 10,000, but now I want to accept the 10,500. We'll post it on there. For the Grad Plus loan, the max is different for pretty much every student, or not every student, but the max is based on your cost of attendance minus any grants and minus your unsubsidized loan. So if your cost of attendance is 120,000 and you didn't receive any grants, and your unsubsidized loan is 20,500, so then your max Grad Plus loan is 99,500. And again, that's the max. We're going to offer the max, but as before, you can accept less. Oh, you can always accept less. As a first-time law student or Berkeley law student, you will have to complete a master promissory note for the unsubsidized loan, and for the Grad Plus loan. You will also have to complete entrance counseling for the loans. Nowadays, you only have to do one entrance counseling, so you don't have to do both of them. And you'll see it on your communications after you accept the loan. So it's a little weird, but you have to accept the loans first, then you get the message, the communication that you have to accept that you have to complete a master promissory note, which basically a master promissory note is saying, yes, I promise to pay the loan based on the terms and conditions. And then entrance counseling introduces you to the federal loan program, the interest rate, the origination fees, the repayment plans, the deferment options, the forbearance options, all these, basically what the federal loan program is and what's available to you. And you only have to do one of those. So it'll show up after you accept the loan. So it's a little odd, but that's the way it is, because they don't want students to do this who are not going to take out loans. So they wait for you to accept the loans, then a day or two, you'll get this communication saying, you have master promissory note due, and then entrance counseling. Very simple, 10 to 15 minutes online. It'll on the communication, it'll tell you where to go and how to complete that. Financial disbursement. So when we talk about financial disbursement, we mean the loans and scholarships that will go towards your tuition and fees. And that'll begin August 9th. So it's 10 for JD, that's 10 days before the start of class. The funds will always apply to your mandatory tuition and fees. So let's say you accept $30,000, or you have $30,000 in total of loans and scholarships. If your tuition and fees is 50,000, that 30 will apply to the 50, and then you're going to have a balance of 20. So that's what we mean by disbursement. Disbursement means the financial aid, loans and grants included, will pay or it will go towards tuition and fees. So think about how it'll just go in there and see, okay, is this aid equal to or greater than the tuition and fees? If it's equal to, perfect, right? Zero, the balance is zero. If it's greater, or if it's less, then you get that balance, like I said, like if your tuition and fees is 35, but your aid is only 30, then you have a balance of 5,000 that you have to pay. If your aid is greater than your tuition and fees, so if your aid is 50,000 and your tuition and fees is 30, then you're gonna get that difference of $20,000, and that's what we call a refund. And you'll use that for your living for your rent, for books, for any personal expenses. And I highly, highly recommend that you sign up for direct deposit. You put in your bank account information, and once refunds begin, which is on the 19th, so the first day of class, you should get any excess fund or what we call a refund within 2 to 3 days. If you don't sign up for direct deposit, it's going to be a physical check mailed to your mailing address, and that will take 3 weeks, 21 days. Not ideal. That's very long. So please sign up for direct deposit. I think it's the best thing you could do for yourself, so you get that money as soon as possible, especially that first semester that you're coming in the fall, because you've already paid a lot of things before you even start school, right? You've already paid probably security deposit. You've probably paid 1 month rent. You're gonna buy books, so you don't want to wait 21 days to get that check. So definitely I recommend enrolling in direct deposit. And again, the refund is any excess money, so any money that's greater than your tuition and fees. Normally, or I should say, in the fall semester, this will begin the first day of school. So you should have this money, this excess money, if that's the case, for you within that first week. So if you don't have it, if for some reason you don't have it during that first week, definitely contact us. But the first thing is you want to set up direct deposit, because if you don't, like I said, if you don't have direct deposit, you're not going to get it within that week. You're going to get it within 3 weeks. But that's when we talk about that's the difference between the disbursement and the refund. Disbursement means financial aid pays your mandatory tuition and fees, which that begins August 9th. And then the refund, which is any excess funds, that's going to be going out the first day of class, which is the 19th. One thing for international students, it's this thing called a glacier record. It is definitely required for students who are getting either receiving a payment from the school or receiving some type of whether it's a payroll or non-payroll, and the refund falls into this category. So you have to complete a glacier record when you have an immigrant visa status of F, J, M, or Q. You have to complete a glacier record before you get your refund. Unfortunately, it also means that you're gonna get taxed 14%. I know that's a lot. There's nothing I can do about it. It's federal government. You will get a communication on your CalCentral on that section, the to-do list section, about the glacier record and how to complete it.
I just had a question about this.
Yeah, go ahead.
About the glacier. So is it only if you have if your scholarship amount is greater than the full cost? If it's less and it's just the tuition was reduced, then there's nothing to worry about?
Exactly. So this is for the refund. This is for any money that's greater, any scholarship money that's greater than the mandatory tuition and fees.
Okay, thank you.
So that's called, so you get just like anybody else, you would get that money, you would get that refund. but because, because of your status, I guess, they want you to complete this glacier report, record, and you get taxed 14%. So, if we could talk about this, but if there's a situation, we always try to, if we can avoid having you get a refund and then using that refund to pay your tuition, then we're going to do that. Because we rather, the school, we rather have your aide pay your tuition and fees than you getting a refund, getting taxed 14%, and then you still have to pay tuition and fees. So we don't do that. So this is only if your tuition and fees are already paid. So 100%. This is very complicated, and I would say that probably 90% of the time when we talk to international students and they're looking for their refund and they cannot find it and their refund hasn't gone out, is because of this glacier record, because they have not completed this glacier record. So please complete it. Obviously, if you have further questions, you can talk to the glacier team. We have the contact information here. But this is pretty important for international students if you're going to get a refund. Next, resources, who does what? So it's always confusing, but the way we look at it is like we're CalCentral and Berkeley Law are two different offices and we do two different things. CalCentral is who charges you, where you make your payments. They also are the ones that send refunds to students. And if you have any VA benefits questions, you would go to them. Financial aid is scholarships, loans, and any cost of attendance adjustments. So we help you pay your bill and your balance. So when we talk about your tuition and loans paying your balance, it's like Berkeley Law Financial Aid helps you pay CalCentral. But if you have any questions on your scholarships or your loans, come to us. Or if you want to increase your cost of attendance for some reason. So when we say that, we mean that for some reason your budget, we have a budget, right? We have a cost of attendance. Sometimes, well, I shouldn't say sometimes, most of the time that budget is not going to be 100% the same for everybody because everybody has different expenses. But if there's anything that you're paying more than the average, and it's obviously educational related, we could potentially help you increase your cost of attendance, which would then increase your loans. It's not ideal because it's just more loan, but if you're paying extra for something than we have budgeted for, we could potentially do a cost of attendance adjustment. So keep that in mind. But you can always, if you want to, you could always start with our office, and then if we can't answer your question, we'll help you, and we can reach out to CalCentral. But just know that there is a difference. I know a lot of times because we're here at the law school, and we have a pretty open door policy. A lot of times, questions that go to CalCentral come to us. That's okay, but a lot of times it just means that we're gonna have to talk to CalCentral, and we won't have the answer for you. It's totally fine, but just it's important to know the difference between both of the offices. Okay, so we're almost at the end. Just some quick reminders. Fall tuition is due August 23rd. Please review your billing summary. Just because we're human too, mistakes happen, and if you see something wrong or you see something that you think is not right, even whether it's your bill or your financial aid, just come talk to us and we can go through it. I have no issue if you come to me and say, Jorge, I think this is wrong. What's going on here? We'll review it. And if it's something wrong, then we'll fix it. So that no problem there. Your financial aid disbursements. So yes, what you see in your balance is only for fall, unfortunately. It's a lot. You guys pay a lot for school. But just remember that just like your bill is split fall, spring, so is your financial aid going to be split. So let's say we give you an award for 30,000 for the year. you're gonna get 15 and 15. If you accept loans for 40,000, it'll be 20 and 20. So everything from now on, when we're talking about Berkeley law, and you're talking about your bill and your financial aid, just remember that everything's split fall, spring. If your financial aid cannot exceed your cost of attendance. This is an estimate, so not everybody. Uh, Everybody's gonna be really close to this, but depending on if you waived anything, um, your cost of attendance might be a little bit different. So if for some reason you think, whether it's your rent, whether you're paying higher in books or anything like that, and you think that your cost of attendance is higher than what we have, come talk to us, and we might be able to help you increase your cost of attendance, which then potentially increases your loans. Unfortunately, it's only loan, it's not more grant, so it's not ideal, but it is, loans are a resource. So if you think that that's going to be you, just please let us know. Sign up
I
for
had
direct
a
deposit. Did you have a question?
uh, yeah, I did have a question. So I have a sort of different setup, isn't that when I was doing the reconsideration request, I was given like a grant amount or like scholarship from one source, the Human Rights Scholarship.
Yeah.
But then on my CalCentral, it shows that it's actually coming from two different sources, from Dean's Fellowship and then the other Human Rights one. Which one is the correct one, like the source of truth?
So, go ahead and email me, and we could look at it. So sometimes what happens is students get offered, say, $40,000 for the year, um, and we have different funds,
Hmm.
and for you, it doesn't matter where you get your money from, right? 40,000 is 40,000.
Yeah.
But for
Hmm.
us, it might matter because if we are able to give you funds from this bucket, that means we could open up funds from this bucket for somebody else. So it could be a
Okay.
situation where we just split the different, or we split the money because we wanted to
Okay.
open up funds from different buckets. But let me
Hmm.
know and I can take a look at it. Again, we're human, we make mistakes, so
Yep. Yep.
no issue there. But sometimes it does happen where we're just using different buckets because it allows us more freedom to use that money for something else.
Okay. Yeah. The number looks correct. Like the total amount looks
Yeah.
correct. I was just confused about the where it was coming from. What's the best email? That I
I
can
could,
reach out?
yeah, I mean, you could email myself, you could email me directly, and I'll put my email here.
That's great. Thank you.
I had a question
Yeah,
on if the fall tuition is due on August 23rd.
yeah,
How long does it take to process the e-checks, or as long as we send the e-check by that date, are we good and not charged a late fee?
yeah, you're gonna be good. Again, there is no late fees now, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, as long as you do it by the 23rd, you'll be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Um, Again, sign up for direct deposit. I cannot emphasize that enough. Um, CalCentral, My Finances, Financial Resources, set up direct deposit. It'll make your life a lot easier if you do that. And then the last thing is students must reapply for loans each year. So the loans that you're offered this year are good for this year, and then they're going to disappear. And for next academic year, you have to complete another FAFSA so that you can get it offered more loans next year. So just, and you'll have plenty of reminders from us, but just keep that in mind. I know I answered some questions already. Do you guys have any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourselves or get in the chat.
I put a question in the chat. Um, sorry.
Oh, is this about AmeriCorps?
Yeah. On the option, it only shows like the financial aid office for the undergraduate institutions. I'm not sure if I need to contact them or if the request will like
It
get
actually,
routed.
yeah, put their information because they're gonna handle it. They handle
Oh,
them.
the undergraduate. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's so sometimes even like in the FAFSA, right? There's only one Berkeley. There wasn't like Berkeley law in Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another case where undergrad, we call it main campus financial aid will handle it, and then they'll let us know, and they'll post the awards.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
I have a quick question
Yeah.
about undergraduate loans. So I have a small undergraduate subsidized loan.
Mhm.
I know that we can defer it. Does it happen automatically, or do I have to do something on my part?
You will go to your loan servicer,
Mm-hmm.
and there should be a form there and you would fill it out, and you're gonna select in-school deferment.
Okay.
And
Thank
I don't, that should be the only thing that you need, because then they could look at what's called a national clearinghouse, where it shows every college student who's enrolled. But sometimes they do ask for additional information. They might ask you to come to our office, and or to registrar, and we'll confirm that you're a student. But yeah, look for that form, in-school deferment.
I also had a quick question,
Yeah.
and thanks for this presentation.
Yeah.
When we accept our loans in CalCentral, are you choosing the amount for the year or the semester?
Great question. You're choosing it for the year, but what I tell students is think about the fall semester, because we can always modify the spring one before January. So what I mean by that is, say you're like, so if you don't do anything, you're accepting for both the fall and the spring. So, and if you don't tell us anything different, then if you get 40, if you accept 40,000, then it's gonna be 20 for the fall and 20 for the spring. But if you are like, well, I only want to take 20 for the fall, you can't select 20 for fall only. You have to accept 40 and then come talk to us, and then we can cancel the 20 that was going to be scheduled for spring. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can always talk to us about, future. Even also, one thing also about loans is you have 120 days to return any unused funds. So even if for some reason in your scenario, you didn't want to take the 20K in January, but you forgot to contact us, you have 120 days to return it without any origination or interest. But I would say think about the fall. If you're gonna, yes, you are accepting for the year, but if you want to go, semester by semester, then always think about, okay, this is gonna be split. How much do I want for the fall? Because I know I could always go to financial aid and cancel or reduce the spring portion.
Is there a reason to, like, I guess when you're saying think about it for the fall versus the year, if we think we know how much we need for the fall and for the spring, is there reason to only accept what we need for the fall? Like, would you then be paying less interest, or does it not matter because the money's not dispersed
No,
yet?
the interest begins when the loans disperse.
Okay.
So you're gonna pay interest for the fall beginning in August. Most students, right? Because most students are gonna accept now, and then the fall disbursement happens in August, and then in January it'll be the spring one. So you're not paying for spring, or you're not getting charged interest for the spring until January.
Okay.
Great. Well, if you guys have other questions or concerns, here's our email, here's our phone number. I would say probably email is probably the best. I guess you could also call us. You could, however you want to do it. It's fine with me. But just know that we're here for you. If you have any issues, any concerns, just come talk to us. And we can, either find a solution, or hopefully we can talk to somebody. If it's not something that we can handle, maybe we could talk to some other department. But we're here for you guys. We're here to help you in any way we can. Thank you for attending, and feel free to email me. Feel free to email our office. Have a good day.